Well, good day to you all. My name is Mark. I'm the pastor from the Rock Church in Umhlanga, and it is a great privilege to be collaborating with the Olive Tree and Father's House around the Greater Than series. And it's my privilege today to talk a little bit around how to set limits and set healthy limits and boundaries in our lives. Setting boundaries and limits in your life and relationships can be very challenging, but it's very powerful and a very necessary step in establishing healthy relationships. Even if we look at Jesus, he had to do that on many occasions with his disciples. As the crowds grew, he had to set healthy limits with people around him and boundaries to enable him to give the great and priority yes to his relationship with his Father. So how does this work in your life? Right motives and right frame of mind is very necessary as you start to separate levels of access people have to your life. Okay, Jesus needed to do this with his followers and his disciples as well. Even the apostles in the book of Acts, chapter 6, needed to set healthy limits and boundaries as the church started to grow. The Bible says God added to their number daily those that were being saved. The crowd grew to 3,000 in just one day. And there came a time when the apostles needed to stand up and say, okay, guys, from now on, we no longer are going to serve tables and be available to you. We have been called now as apostles, and our job is to now spend time in the Word and prayer. You can imagine the response from some of the crowd. That's amazing, but I'm sure they're not talking about us. And Peter had to come back, probably, would have been Peter, and say, no, actually, I'm talking about all of you. Our job from now on is to give priority to the prayer and to the Word. And now Stephen and his friends are going to look after you and wait on your tables. And as they did that, you can expect the response was not, yay, we could only have access to our friends who we were with from the upper room. All of a sudden, we've got other people in our lives that are going to be waiting on us. And as the apostles set limits in their lives to prioritize the prayer and Word, the response from the people would have probably been not, yay, we're so happy about this. So it's important to understand that when you do set boundaries, not everyone's going to be happy. As you set limits to the access people have to you, sometimes there's going to be a pushback, and people are going to test those limits. It's in the nature of humans to test limits and boundaries. As you prioritize the things in your life, they're going to push against that. So one of the points I want to focus on now is what do we do with people who do not take care or handle carefully the limit or the access that we've given them to our lives. We let people into our life and they abuse that access, or they're unfaithful with it, and they hurt you. What do we do with them? What we need to do is we need to learn how to stop giving people access to areas of our lives where they can take advantage of us. We can get stuck very quickly in I am the victim. What I'm trying to say is that we have healthy boundaries when we put healthy boundaries in our lives and we let people have access to our lives, those that are careful and look after and are responsible for that access, great. Those that don't, we need to set in limits. And what we generally do as humans is we do what we call triangulation. Basically what that is I become a victim. I then go to someone to be my savior and ask them to help me out and deal with that person, because we're afraid to confront, we're afraid to actually set up healthy limits. And there's a fun YouTube clip on this. You can have a look at it. It's called The Trunk Monkey. And the story is like this. The guy's driving his car and obviously gets into a road rage moment, and he pulls over, and this big bulky dude comes running to the car, knocks on the window and screaming, I'm going to knock you out. What do you think you're doing? And the guy's like trying to hide away, and he kind of puts his hanky up against the window. Please don't look at me. And the guy outside is just being abusive. And what this guy does, he leans over and he's got this little button in his car called the trunk monkey, and he pushes the button and this monkey jumps out the back of the truck, comes up to him, knocks him over the head with a crowbar, and then the guy sitting in his car high-fives the monkey and says, get back in the trunk. And that's what we try and do in relationships. When we feel confronted or under pressure, we want to go to Jesus and think he's our trunk monkey and say, Jesus, this person is violating the boundary I've put in place. They've been unfaithful with the access I've given them to my life. Please, can you deal with them? And actually, Jesus doesn't want to be your trunk monkey. Jesus wants to equip you and give you the necessary tools to put in healthy boundaries so that you can set limits that people have into your life. That's called triangulation. What we do wrong is we don't be clear in our relationships, or we don't be clear in the communication of our relationships. We leave it murky or misty. We don't let our no be no and our yes be yes. It's very important in setting limits that when we do so, we're very clear on how and why we communicate them. A boundary that you put in place does two things. The one thing it does is it tells people that it keeps it keeps the people that are going to violate the boundaries out. and violate you out. And those that are going to be healthy, you're going to keep them in. So boundaries keep the things you want in your life, and the things you don't want in your life out of your life. The things you want in your life, things like joy, peace, love, time, money, things that are valuable to me, those are the things you want to keep into your life. The example would be like a little toddler playing on the playground. They put up a fence around the playground so the kid doesn't run into the road and get killed by a car. It keeps them in. The same fence that keeps things out. The same things that keep things in is the same fence that keeps things out. Keeps the dog away from the kid. The things you want to keep out of your life are disrespect, irresponsibility, and people that are consuming your time and are high maintenance. You want to place healthy boundaries in place to keep those things away. So the same fence that keeps things out, or the boundary that keeps things out, the unwanted things out, is the same boundary that keeps the things in. Things like love, joy, your peace, your finances, your energy, those things you want to keep in, things you want to keep out. As I said, disrespect, irresponsibility, time-consuming and high-maintenance people, you want to keep those out. What it does is it protects the priorities of my life. The priorities of my life are my time, my energy, my resources, and my relationships. You need to prioritize those and put boundaries in place to keep those in place. So, one of the challenges we have is, how do we set these boundaries? We actually need to develop the skill in doing this. Setting boundaries in your life is actually a skill that you need to grow in. If you're struggling to put boundaries in your life, you're probably going to need to learn to require the necessary respect for the things that you value in your life. So the things that you value, you will put boundaries around. And what we often do is we let people take advantage of us, or we end up saying yes to things that we wanted to say no to because we don't understand that we need to value the things that are in our lives. If you're unable to say no and mean no, and you feel selfish by saying no or guilty, it's because you probably don't understand or haven't got to a place where you've learned to value what you do have in your life. So when you communicate, and the way you communicate, so if you communicate a very strong no around something, will establish in someone's mind that actually that area is valuable to me, so that you can say the yes when you mean the yes. The amazing thing with boundaries is people will push your boundaries, and the way that you communicate that will establish in their minds whether you're serious or not about your boundary. As you set boundaries in your life, it'll be interesting to see how you need to establish in yourself, as I've said, the things that you value. When you put the boundary in place, people push against that, and the way you respond to that will then send the signal to them that this thing is important to me. I often say this, I say that we judge ourselves on our intentions. So my intention is to be good, but my action may be not so good, and we judge others on their actions. So we judge ourselves on our intention and others on their actions. When you're setting boundaries in place, let me help you right now. The best thing you can do is let your actions and your words match up. If you say no, let your no be no. If your yes is yes, let it be yes. Especially with children, you'll find that. Your actions are very important, that they are in continuity with your thoughts. Remember, people will believe your actions way more than they'll believe your words. So be consistent in your actions. People can trust that it is you that controls your life. So let's say you be firm with your boundaries. In this Greater Than series, you're going to find this word greater than used a lot. And in setting boundaries, when you operate from a place of understanding who you are and what you value, is greater than when you just let someone push their agenda on you and you saying yes when you actually mean no, and you doing whatever you're doing begrudgingly and with a heavy heart. As you set firm boundaries in your life, as you communicate the value of what you hold true, people will believe that and honor that. Boundaries are one of the best ways to communicate that you actually love and care for someone. One of the big ideas behind all of this is that if I think I can control you and your way of behaving towards me, I'm confused, and that's not true. At best, on your best day, you can probably control yourself. You want to be able to control yourself and explain to people, this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. Don't try and tell them what they need to do. You can only tell them what you can do. So hopefully this has been helpful. Just to end off with the same line again, boundaries are one of the best ways to communicate that you love and care for someone.